Well, hello. Welcome back to Toy Thursday with Johnny Tiger. On August 4th, 2022, getting a nice view of a baby shredder. What is a baby shredder? Well, there's an episode of Ninja Turtle when the shredder fell into essentially the fountain of youth. It mutated him back to being a baby. That was pretty hilarious. So anyway, that's what we're looking at in front of the camera. At least I hope I got this aimed right because he is very small. So I'm not quite sure if I got him set up properly so you guys can see him. Uh, this guy actually came with one of my favorite action figure purchases of last year, the Super Shredder. But I believe we already looked at the Super Shredder in one of the episodes when I talked about what I bought when I went to California. We got a pretty good view of the Super Shredder. Um, so actually, let me quickly correct myself. This Baby Shredder came with the action figure of Crane, not Super Shredder. And no, we have not looked at Crane yet. That will be another figure for another day. Today, before I forget, is also my father's birthday. And I hate to say this, a Shredder kind of reminds me of my dad. Uh, kind of little muscular Asian dude who's always screaming at people. Yeah, I know. I just uh, talk smack about my dad on his birthday. But hey, I think being compared to some super badass like Shredder is not really a bad thing, right? I mean, yeah, if someone compared me to Shredder, I'd be a lot more happy than if someone was to say compared me to, well, I don't know, Razar or Taka. um, this episode is not about Ninja Turtles. It is not about Shredder. Although there is a reason that I'm opening this with a baby Shredder. Because today is Hooray for Kids Day. Ugh. Hooray for Kids Day. Now, if you are watching this and you are a kid or you have children, don't take this the wrong way. Okay, this is not meant to offend, but personally, Johnny Tiger does not get on very good with children. Yeah, when you are blind, you tend when you're growing up, when you grow up blind, you tend to have a lot of bad experience with children, with pranks and awkward questions and uh, the tricks and stuff like that. So I think that kind of started me off on the wrong foot with children. Now, don't get me wrong, when I'm teaching children, when I'm interacting with children, I have been told that I'm very good with children. But deep inside, I don't really like children. I have friends that have children, and their children are adorable. Like, yeah, I mean, I have come across children that I think, wow, if I ever had kids, I wish my kids would be like that. But then I come across more children that I'm like, yeah, I'm so glad this wasn't my kid. But anyway, hooray for kids! I can't believe I'm going to say this. Kids are great. Okay, kids are the future of uh, our world. I just wish we can just send them to the future so they can get on with it. But anyway, kids are the future of our world. They are full of energy, too much so sometimes. They're kind of cute sometimes. They make you laugh sometimes. Sometimes they really piss you off too. Um, Anyway, kids are great. Okay, let's like no, my personal feeling aside, uh, kids are great. Awesome. Let's just get on with this. Um, so today we're going to celebrate Hooray for Kids Day with a giant kid. Unless you really know your comic book, you're probably kind of confused why I'm celebrating Hooray for Kids Day with a 6'6" African American dude who weighs 450 pounds and is more muscular than Superman and dressed up like some kind of deranged uh, biker gang member. But hopefully, after I tell you the sad, although relatively heroic story of a child by the name of Alan Darrell Holiday, you will understand and agree that this guy very deserving of being the person, being the character that help us celebrate this day that is all about children. Alvin, yeah, I'd be damned if I'm going to say his whole name every time. Alvin grew up in Brooklyn. Well, he didn't actually grow up. He was he was born in Brooklyn and being raised by his grandmother. One day when he was 12, he went to New York and to trade some comic book. That just brings back so much a memory. Like when I was little, me and my younger brother we used to go to different places to trade video games and stuff like that. So Alvin, yeah, when he was 12, he went to New York to trade some comic book. But he got attacked by some bully on the street. They chased him, and he went and hid in a container and didn't know that he was hiding in the container of radioactive waste, industrial waste. Uh, Long story short, Alvin went home and started to get really, really sick, and he, his grandmother gradually nursed him back to health. But something strange started happening to Alvin. This 12-year-old boy started growing big. No, let me say, he started growing big. He turned into what you're looking at in front of the camera right now. This 6'6" monster of a musclehead who weighs 450 pounds, gained superhuman strength, superhuman speed, but he still had the mind of a child. Because of his newfound power, Alvin's grandmother encouraged him to use his power for good. So, one day, Alvin, who now called himself Rage, uh, went to the headquarters of the Avengers and talked to Iron Man and Captain America and all the big name superheroes and say, "Hey, I got a problem with you guys. You guys have this big superhero team, but you guys don't have any black member. That's racist. Okay, you should let me join you guys. Look at me. I have big muscles. I can help you." Well, he kind of neglected to mention that he is also only 12 years old inside. So they sort of took him on as a probational member of the Avenger, and he went on a few missions with them, and actually he was doing pretty good. He was, he was strong, he was fast, and definitely added some new angle to the superhero team. But then it got found out that Alvin, aka Rage, was only 12 or 13 years old at this time, which means he's too young, he's underage. So Captain America, kind of like a jerk, kicked him out of the team and told him that if he wants, he can be a trainee instead. He can't join the team because he's too young. After that, Rage went and joined another superhero team called the New Warriors. And it was during this time when his grandmother got killed by a street gang during some kind of gang war. And Rage now have to become like a foster child of one of his older teammates. His story went on as Rage became more used to his superhero identity and uh, started helping other superheroes with fighting crimes and dealing with stuff like that. But he always, in his mind, felt that because he's black or African American, he needed to do something uh, to prove that there's some kind of racism or injustice going on. So one day, while he was stopping a crime, and what happened was the criminal actually got the drop on him and ran away. Just as he was ready to go after them, the police showed up. And, you know, here is a guy who's big and muscular and dressed like a leather biker gang member, and wearing a ski mask. I guess it kind of makes sense. The police arrested him thinking that he was a criminal. To be fair, at this time Captain America and the Avenger members told Rage that they could easily prove that he was innocent, that they could talk to the right people to get him released. But uh, like a lot of martyrs, Rage, aka Alvin, decided this was a perfect chance to prove to the world that there's some systemic racism going on. He was going to do this the hard way. He was going to go to court and then fight the system the regular way. He didn't want Captain America and other superheroes to help him. Now, I totally admire the guy's ideal here, but we gotta remember, inside, he is like 13 years old at this point. He probably didn't have the maturity or the foresight to think the whole thing through very clearly. So, long story short, rather than being found innocent, Rage, aka Alvin, got found guilty by the court, and they threw him in a jail that was designed to hold superpowered humans. And worst of all, in this jail was a lot of the superpower criminals that Rage himself have helped arrest before. So one day, some of these superpowered criminal assholes cornered Rage in jail and beat him so bad that he went to a coma with severe brain damage. He was in a coma for a long time. And finally, after a long time, he was able to recover and wake up just in time to face a massive alien invasion of these aliens from outer space were possessing people and taking over the Earth. And Rage very bravely tried to join the fight and help evacuate the survivors and help hold off the alien. And he got killed. And my friends, that is the sad story of Alvin Darrell Holiday, a young kid who was trapped into a massively muscular adult body, tried very hard to do some very difficult adult things, and in the end, he died. But depressing story notwithstanding, Rage was an interesting character. I mean, on the surface, he's not that interesting because he's just another character who's super strong, super fast, can heal from injuries relatively easily, and all that stuff. But he's always kind of got the handicap that mentally he is 13 years old. So people look at him and think he's a big, scary dude, and inside he's very immature, very prone to be impulsive. Obviously, his superpower, the most prominent part of his superpower, is the super strength. I mean, you look at this guy and you know he is about super strength, right? But Rage's super strength is kind of interesting. Normally, he can lift about 75 tons. Yeah, I know. I just casually throw that out like that's pretty normal. But, yeah, when we think about it, 75 tons, that's a lot of weight. That this guy's crazy strong. Right? Um, but if he uses his strength for violent purposes, such as punching people out or getting in a fight, his strength actually increases to being able to lift over 100 tons. If he's just using his strength for regular purposes, like trying to rescue people, trying to lift a fallen building so survivors can get out, then he can only lift about 75 tons. So this is a very interesting little twist on someone who has super strength. He can also run up to about 100 miles an hour, and he has enough endurance to continuously moving for about 24 hours before he get tired. He also can heal from injuries really, really quick, although he is nowhere near like guys like Incredible Hulk or Deadpool or Wolverine because he cannot regenerate from missing body parts or being uh, shot in the head or some crazy stuff like that. But if it's like a scratch or a cut, something breaks the skin, stuff like that, then he can heal from that really, really quick. In addition to being super strong, super fast, Rage, aka Elvin, is also very good at hand-to-hand combat. He's personally been trained by some of the really good martial art fighters and soldiers in Marvel Comics. For example, Captain America and the Night Thrasher. Now let's talk about the action figure. This action figure was made by Hasbro, I believe 2 years ago, like back in 2020, it might be 2019. I know I acquired him in 2020, but he might have been made in 2019, so he's relatively new. Uh, he is, honestly, as far as figures go, he is a little bit boring because he is built on the basic, really big male body that Hasbro reuses for guys about this size. So we have seen this body many, many times already. However, he does have some new parts. He's wearing a really cool leather vest with pockets and belts and a high collar on it. I want a vest like that. I would really love to have a leather vest like that. He's also wearing leather pants, studded bracelet around his wrist, a leather belt, studded belt around his waist, and he's got some really big boots on his feet. Like I said, he kind of looks more like some kind of biker outlaw than anything else. He's not dressed like a typical superhero, which for me, I actually prefer this. This guy is a little bit more realistic. Like I can totally see as anyone can put together an outfit like that at home. He's also wearing a yellow ski mask with black marking, and befitting his name Rage, he's got this massive scowl on his face. This guy looks very, very angry. Um, the details are really good. All the buckles on his vest, buckles and zippers and studs, they're silver. And he's even got chest hair painted on under the vest. That vest is a separate piece added onto the basic body underneath. So I have not tried to remove it, but I think if you want to, I don't know why you would want to, but I imagine you can actually remove the vest and give it to a different action figure if you would like. Um, I usually don't want to try to do that because sometimes it's easy to remove these things, but it's really hard to get them back on. Um, like most of Hasbro's Marvel Legends action figure, Rage is very well articulated. I've been changing his poses throughout the video. You can see he can get into the bodybuilding T pose, and I got him doing the Krav Maga fight stance and getting into they can do some boxing poses. Now, of course, because he's a big, burly, muscly guy, like a lot of big burly muscly guy, there's only so much he can do. Like uh, his arms cannot bend as much as skinnier characters. His legs will not bend as much as skinnier characters, and his torso, of course, is kind of limited by that big leather vest of his. Uh, but yeah, as far as joints go, the joints are there. It's just kind of limited by all the muscles he had on his body. Quite impressively, he's balanced enough and his joints are tight enough. So despite of him being a big, heavy, burly character, I'm able to get him standing on one leg, doing this sort of like a kicking motion without the need for him to lean against anything or needing an action figure base. So I think as far as articulation and joint design go, this guy definitely is top of the line. And nothing's too loose, and the balance is just fantastic. Now let's take a quick size comparison. I want to show you guys how does this guy stack up against other Marvel characters. See if he is accurate to his character depiction. Again, this guy is supposed to be 6 foot 6 inches tall and about 450 pounds. So he's a big guy. So let's see if he is big enough to be a big guy. Here we have Rage standing next to Daredevil. Now, Daredevil is usually portrayed as about 6 foot tall and about 200 pounds. So Daredevil is not a small dude either. Daredevil is like, to most normal guys, would be what you would consider pretty big. But standing next to Rage, we can see that Daredevil look kind of wimpy. Like, yeah, Rage kind of towers over him like a tree. Uh, it's both thicker and wider and taller. Uh, Honestly, I kind of get the feeling that Rage is a little bit too tall because I mean this is supposed to be a 6 foot guy versus a 6 foot six guy, which means when we translate it to action figure in this scale, it's Daredevil is about 6 inches tall, so Rage is supposed to be around 6 inches, 6.6 inches, but to me, he kind of looked like he's a whole inch taller than Daredevil, which means he is a little bit closer to 7 feet tall. So he's a little bit too tall comparing to his character biography. And I'm going to illustrate this even further by bringing in a bigger character so you guys can see how Rage is actually, if anything, a little bit too big as an action figure. Here is Rage standing beside Colossus from X-Men. Now, Colossus is a huge, giant dude. Like, I believe in his biography, it says he's 7 feet 5 inches tall. So standing against Rage's 6 foot 6, Colossus should be taller. But as you guys can see, he is taller, but not by a lot. So it's either Colossus is too short in action figure form, which I don't think so, or like I said, I think Rage is a little bit too tall. Now, with all that said, I will say this: when it comes to big characters like this, I don't mind if there's a slight uh, discrepancy in the height like this, because Honestly, when you're dealing with like 6 inch, 7 inch action figures, they're never going to be totally accurate. So big characters should be big, right? So if they are half an inch taller than they should be, we'll just no assume that's to portray their intimidating stature and let it pass. I'm pretty sure most of the time toy makers can't really sit there and say this guy's 6'6", so he should be 6.6 inches and nothing else. I don't think they put that much stock into following the actual biography and stuff like that. And even when you guys see characters in comic books, a lot of time, depending on how close the character is to another character, or what are they doing, or what kind of terrain they're standing on, they are not very consistent. Sometimes characters, for example, uh, uh, Colossus, look gigantic, and sometimes he just looked a little bit bare, just a slightly bigger than average human. So it's never going to be totally consistent. So this little size comparison is not me knocking uh, the action figure and finding fault with it. I'm just wanting to point out that there is sometimes a little bit of a mistake or discrepancy when it comes to the size and height of the action figure. In the end, Rage is not what I would call a super exciting action figure. He's a big muscly dude, uh, using his fist to punch things all the time. There's nothing totally interesting about his outfit. He's dressed like a, leather-clad biker gangster. Uh, but this is one of those instances where the character's backstory totally brings out the my interest in this particular action figure, because I think that for all intents and purposes, uh, Alvin Daryl Holiday, aka Rage, has one of those backstories that is almost like the writer is trying to tell us, trying to show all the unjust, all the unequal things that still go on in our world with regarding to people of different skin colors. So I think it's something that for definitely worthwhile for us to think on. And this 12-year-old kid trapped in a giant man's body is definitely an interesting character for us to use to celebrate Hooray for Kids Day. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. We'll be back again tomorrow for some Fitness Friday. For now, have a good night and be nice to your kids, because one day, you never know, they may turn out to be a giant dude like this.